the supporters there can be the 12th man. It can also be a detriment if things go awry very early on.
If a team just get on Leeds a little bit, it can cause a little bit of tension, and that can get into the dressing room.
They have been the 12th man on so many occasions this season. They need the supporters to be with them through thick and thin. If the atmosphere is, rocking at Ellen Road and Leeds get an early goal or two, then they should see them home. Hello and welcome to the Second Tier Preview Show, brought to you by SBK. I'm Ryan Dilks and I'm joined by the Anthony Nokiart to my Manuel Almunia. It's Justin Peach.
Good day to you, Ryan.
Oh, Justin, I do hope you are well. But did you see the news from the past few days that Neil Warnock is back in football as an advisor at Torquay United? I thought in honour of that we would go to a quote from the Book of Warnock. How does that sound to you?
Yeah, you can't keep a good man down, can you? He's got to be working. We've got to hear more quotes. So come on, let's get into him.
It's not a bad gig, is it? Just, he's already in that neck of the woods anyway. Now he's just getting called up every so often. Oh, Neil, what do you think about this? Well, he's fishing or something like that. Yeah. He's getting paid for it. It's not bad, is it?
I was going to say as well, they're Torquay hiring Paul Watton alongside Neil Warnock. It's the most Devon/Cornwall hirings you could possibly ask for. Obviously, Paul Watton being ex-Plymouth. So this is the most Cornwall/Devon hire you could possibly go for. And fair play to old Neil getting another job in his retirement.
Yeah, it's very Coca-Cola Championship, isn't it? Watton and Warnock
it is.
At the helm. Justin, can you get me a page number, please, from the Book of Warnock?
I've got to try not to give you one that I've already given before. I'm going to go with...
I'll give you a reminder that it goes up to 120.
Okay, 114.
114. You haven't gone into the hundreds very often, so
no.
I'll push you in that direction. So the first one is about Warnock being a qualified referee, which I didn't know.
I knew that.
He is upset that Steve Bennett awarded Liverpool a penalty in Sheffield United's 4-0 defeat. Steve Bennett knows the rules, but not the game. Until referees get a Neil Warnock educating them and their weekly get-togethers, these things will keep happening.
Oh yes, Neil Warnock briefing every single referee and assessing every single referee is exactly what football has needed this entire time.
It's very ex-pros saying, referees should learn from the ex-pros because they don't understand the game kind of thing, isn't it? And this next one, Justin, this is about when he was the manager at Sheffield United and he was mic'd up for a TV documentary, screams at the linesman after one of his players is booked. I feel like you may have heard this quote before. Fucking hell, what's the difference? Lino, what's the fucking difference? We're away from home, that's the fucking difference. We're in London, that's the fucking difference. We're in London, aren't we?
Do you know what? I quote that every time I go to London.
Every single time.
That is ingrained.
Without fail.
Is ingrained in my very being. Every time I step foot into the old smoke.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. It is something that Justin says at every single opportunity whenever we're in the capital. Anyway, Justin, welcome to the #1 Championship podcast, the Second Tier. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are. And welcome to the second legs of the playoff semi-finals. This is where the drama starts. Forget the 0-0s from the first legs. They've been and gone. The action begins here, and I'm bloody excited. So this is how it is. We've got Leeds v Norwich on Thursday night. Then it's Southampton v West Brom on Friday night. And if you were to put a £10 bet on any of those teams to win the playoffs with SBK, this is what you would get back. With Leeds, it would return £25, Southampton £27. A win for Norwich would see you get £66 back. If West Brom win, then you would get £72. So not bad at all, eh? Not much change from the first legs there, actually. But let's dive into the second legs, Justin, because this is where the excitement really gets underway in the playoffs. We'll kick things off with the first semi-final second leg. It's Leeds v Norwich on Thursday night at Elland Road. And Leeds are the 5-8 favourites to win this one with SBK. Norwich are 47-10. If you think the game is going to extra time, the draw is 3-1. And this game ended goalless in the first leg in what was one of the most dullest games of the season. But with Norwich failing to make the most of home advantage, does that mean it's advantage Leeds in this tie, Justin?
I mean, considering Norwich's away form in the league was really, really poor, I'm just looking at it now, and they had the 19th worst away record in the division. So naturally, they've got to take advantage of their home game, and they didn't quite do that. I felt David Wagner for all the praise I've given him for being a good tactician in sort of restricting Leeds, it was a really good opportunity to make use of that home form, and they didn't. And then, going to Owen Road, it's a place that's going to be under the lights. Fans, you take a day off work, aren't you? You're going to take a day off work in preparation for this because you're going to want a few ciders in the lead up to the game. So therefore, the atmosphere is going to be buzzing. It's going to be buzzing. It's going to be Ellen Road. It's going to be Daniel Farker at home. It's going to be the crowd willing the team on. It gets harder when you add all those intangibles, footballing tangibles, into this game. But we've seen upsets happen before, so I'm not ruling Norwich out at all.
Well, both Liam Cooper and Ethan Ampadu have called for the Leeds fans to get right behind the players for this game, as you were just saying, Justin, because Ellen Road has been such a fortress really for Leeds this season, hasn't it? And Norwich's Johnny Rowe has even admitted he was in awe at the atmosphere at Ellen Road when the two sides met earlier in the season. And the supporters there can be the 12th man in this, can't they? And we've seen that plenty of times this season. Although, as we have seen in certain playoff semi-finals from, 5 years ago, it can also be a detriment if things go awry very early on, can't it?
Yeah, the tension, you can really feel the tension in the crowd when things do start to go a bit pear-shaped or go a bit Leeds, if you like. So it is one of those things where it can be a catch-22 scenario for Leeds. But as long as a team is willing and pushing and driving that the game forward, then the fans are going to get behind the team. Because I think this is the thing about Leeds fans is sometimes they get, maybe from an outside perspective, especially with other supporters, they get a bit of a bad rep for turning on the team quickly. But that was mainly sort of the era when it was more going to be expected, the Cellino years,
the Cellino
etc.
years,
yes. Whereas it's completely turned around, especially since Bielsa came in. And now Ellen Road is such I wouldn't say a lovely place to go, because you don't want it to be a lovely place to go for an away team. But it's
as a neutral,
the atmosphere, the passion when marching on comes on before the game. You can feel it. You can feel the passion, and I do think that flows into the players. It's going to be a big thing. But as you say, playoff semi-final from 5 years ago. If a team does get on Leeds a little bit, it can cause a little bit of tension, and that can get into the dressing room.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're absolutely right, Justin. It's a fine balance, isn't it? The fans, they're not stupid, are they? They know when things are going well for their side, and they know when things are looking a bit dodgy all of a sudden. And we saw that with that infamous, from a Leeds perspective, playoff semi-final 5 years ago against Derby, where Leeds were in complete control, and then one mistake by Kiko Casilla, and the nerves start creeping in, and it all just went completely wrong from there on. But as we were alluding to, they have been the 12th man on so many occasions this season. They need the supporters to be with them through thick and thin. That's a tricky thing to do because, as we were alluding to, they can tell when something's not going particularly right. But if the atmosphere is, rocking at Ellen Road and Leeds get an early goal or two, then they should see them home. And that's such a big advantage for Leeds heading into this second leg. But look, Norwich will fancy their chances, won't they? All it takes is a moment of magic in the playoffs, doesn't it? Could that moment come from the second-tier Young Player of the Year in Johnny Rowe? He made his first start since January in the first leg. But he is a difference maker, isn't he, Justin?
He is. We've seen it on big occasions. A couple of times already this year. He was so good against Ipswich at Portman Road. He was a key driver in that. And as well as that, when Sargent got injured, he really stepped up alongside Gabriel Sara. He really stepped up in that sort of first third of the season when Norwich needed a talisman, they needed a goal scorer, and he kept on delivering. There were so many times, even at the start of the season, there was just so many times where you're thinking, can he carry on scoring? Can he keep doing it? And he kept doing it and kept doing it and kept doing it. He's a talented player, and he's a fearless individual, and I just hope that fearlessness has remained. I know he picked up his hamstring injury, so I do hope that fearlessness has remained, so he can go into Leeds and just get into him. Because you mentioned that he's already said himself that he was in awe of the crowd at Ellen Road. Don't be in awe of it. Use it for you. Use it for your own sort of drive and stick
silence
it to him.
Them. Want to silence them.
Yeah. stick it to him. Stick up the proverbial middle finger when you're doing whatever you're doing. You can't physically do it, obviously, but in your mind you can think it when you're dribbling past the crowd and everyone behind the goal is giving you some. That's what Ellen Road is. It's a great place to be if you're a home fan and when things are going well, but it's an even better place to be when things are going for an away team and you're an away player.
Very well put, Justin. Very well put. But look, Rowe wasn't great in the first leg. It's got to be said. But to be fair, he's not had much game time, and he wasn't the only attacker on the pitch who had no more than a 6 out of 10 game. That's the kind of game that it was. But if Leeds aren't at their best again, which is becoming a bit of a common theme, unfortunately, with Leeds at the moment, Norwich definitely have players who can hurt them if they're on form. In terms of their attackers, they've got some of the best in the division, and Johnny Rowe is one of them, isn't he? And then you've also got Sargent, Gabriel Sara, two players who we've said numerous times should be playing in the Premier League. And then you've got the likes of Boya Sainz as well, Marcelino Nunes, who can pull moments of magic out of nowhere. These are the players who can make the most of Leeds not being on form once again. And with Rowe, it'd be quite the story if he goes from a relative unknown at the start of the season to being Norwich's playoff hero at such a young age as well, Justin. Yeah,
I do want to mention as well, you mentioned all those players, but I think Norwich have, out of all the teams in the players, probably have the most clinical set of players. Probably worded that clumsily, but Gab Sara can score from 30 yards out. Only needs one shot and one opportunity. He can score an absolute thronker. Johnny Rowe can do the same thing, cuts inside and does the business. Josh Sargent has time and time again this season has taken advantage of mistakes by goalkeepers and defenders and put his opportunity away. They only need one chance. So if there is that Kiko Casilla, Liam Cooper moment in this game, then Norwich will take advantage of it, and they've got players who can do that. Even as you say, Johnny Rowe. So as you say, he's a difference maker, but they've got several difference makers, which I think is a key thing with this Norwich team. Is they've got 4 or 5 players who can really, really turn a game on its head just by the tiniest of margin, by doing the tiniest of things. They're one of the teams that can do it. I know you could probably pick out players from other teams, but Norwich, for me specifically, have those quality players.
You're right, Justin. You are right. But let's get down to brass tacks. Despite everything we've been saying for the past few minutes, and even though Leeds have been in woeful form, I struggle to see Norwich getting past Leeds, Justin. I just think with home advantage, plus the fact Norwich's away form is so bad, as you were alluding to earlier, only the bottom 5 from this season have won fewer points on the road than Norwich in the Championship. And those two things are big factors to take into account here, although this is probably the biggest factor you've got to take into account of all. Leeds are just simply a much better team than Norwich. We've seen it for the most part this season. There's a reason why there's a 17-point gap between these two in the final league tables. And Leeds aren't in form, but neither are Norwich. Yeah. If Norwich were in form and Leeds weren't, I might be doubting myself here, but I don't think there's too much going in Norwich's favour, unfortunately, Justin. Would you agree?
I do agree. I think there are 2 ways Norwich win this game. Leeds give them something, and we have seen it. They give QPR 4 goals. Leeds need to avoid giving Norwich that moment, like I alluded to with the Liam Cooper, Kiko Casilla moment against Derby 5 years ago in the playoffs, or Norwich take its penalties. There are 2 ways that Norwich win this game. They're not going to outplay Leeds. It's going to be as simple as that. I don't think that's a discredit to anybody at Norwich. They're just not going to do it. And I think David Wagner's going to set that team up to be uncomfortable to play against. Can they do that for 90 minutes plus another 30 in extra time? I don't know. I really don't think that's going to be the case. So for me, I do think I favour Leeds more, but at the same time, Leeds can easily give Norwich a chance here. And if Norwich score first, then I do worry.
Yeah, and I think Leeds will have gained confidence by escaping unscathed from the game at Carrow Road, particularly at the back, because, look, they've been shipping goals for fun recently, haven't they? So a really good defensive showing and a clean sheet is the minimum of what Daniel Farke would have wanted. It's going forwards where the concerns lie, because Leeds looked so timid, didn't they? It's going to be interesting to see who they go with up front. Jorginho Ruta has been really poor recently. I've seen a lot of people saying he's not been the same player since he had a hernia operation, I think it was. Neither Joel Pirro or Patrick Bamford have been excellent this season. At the same time, Crescencio Somerville and Willie Gnonto have been quiet in the last 3 games. So that's where the concerns lie. If you have another game where Leeds don't really lay a glove on Norwich, then it's only going to be, one where the nerves crank up more and more as the game goes on. So we could really do, if we think Leeds are going to win, we could really do with them hitting Norwich hard early on and then just kind of taking it from there. And look, Justin, if getting to the playoff final isn't enough motivation for Leeds, then The Sun is reporting that Will Ferrell will be at Wembley if Leeds get past Norwich and get to the playoff final. Hopefully, he doesn't leave kicking and screaming, Justin?
What a dreadful film. What a dreadful film. I mean,
it's a great
to
be honest.
Oh, it's garbage. It's garbage. Robert Duvall plays an angry dad who's also a coach. Yeah, don't watch it, guys. Don't watch it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Yeah. Well, if Leeds are struggling, they could always bring him on because they could use an anchor man in midfield.
Yeah, Gruev was a bit poor against
That was
Norwich.
better. That was better.
It's a better film. It's a better film, and and a much better pun. I don't want to laugh because they didn't make me laugh, Ryan. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, that's just because you're very salty. Yeah. I've got to say, I haven't got any more puns. Considering Will Ferrell is such a famous actor, his filmography is pretty bang average, and I couldn't make any more out of it. But there you go. But Justin, it's now time for us to make our second tier bet builder with SBK. And with SBK, you can curate your own bet builder from a range of markets for any championship game. It's easy, fast and secure on the SBK mobile app. And you'll find substantially better odds there than at any other bookmaker. So in every preview show, we're making our own bet builder with 4 selections. In this case, we're making one for the Leeds v Norwich game, and then we're making one for the Southampton v West Brom game a bit later on in the show. So 2 selections for Justin, 2 for me. Justin, what's your first selection?
I've gone with Leeds to keep a clean sheet. Now, I think this is a very easy one for me to weigh in with, mainly because I think David Wagner's going to focus on restricting Leeds rather than going at them. I mean, their away form tells you that they're going to struggle. Why is it all of a sudden going to change? It might do, it might not. It is a one-off game, but I think the game plan will be much of the same for Norwich as it was in the first leg. Restrict space, stop them from being exploited, and that will give Leeds a lot of the ball, give them a lot of control, and essentially keep Norwich in their half for 70-80% of that game. So are Norwich going to lay a glove on Leeds? I don't think so, and therefore I think Leeds will keep a clean sheet.
Yep, and that kind of ties into my first selection, Justin. As we were alluding to not too long ago, I've gone with Leeds to win as the full-time result. Leeds are a much stronger all-round side than Norwich are, quite simply, and home advantage is going to be huge here. They've only lost twice at Ellen Road all season. That's where they do their best work, and with Norwich's away form, it doesn't provide much encouragement, Justin. So I think Leeds to win as the full-time result and Leeds to keep a clean sheet. I'm happy with both of them.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with the Leeds win. As I was saying, I think it's going to be a case of, Norwich are going to sit back and just wait for Leeds and try and absorb those waves of attacks. It's going to be difficult to do it for 90 minutes. I think Leeds have got the quality to at least get one.
Yeah, and considering they looked much more solid at the back in the first leg, having said that, none of Norwich's attackers looked like they were particularly in the greatest of form. The fact that they were solid at the back is certainly a cause for encouragement. With our first 2 selections, Justin, what is your next selection?
I've gone with Leeds to score under 2.5 goals. Again, not expecting free-flowing football in this game. Not for me. I think we'll see much of what we saw in the first leg. But like we've said already, I think Leeds are going to have waves and waves of attacks. And they've got the league's best player in Crescencio Somerville. So he's going to get opportunities. They've got Jorginho Ruta. I know we alluded to him being in not the best of form, but he's still got quality. So I think Leeds have got enough to score at least one here, maybe a second. And as I say, I think Norwich aren't going to give them too much in the way of attacks. And it's going to be down to Leeds to try and take their chances.
Yep, I think this is a safe pick considering Leeds have been so timid going forwards recently. It would be quite the shock if they were to come out here and score 3 goals or more, wouldn't it? So under 2.5 goals seems a safe pick, Justin. And as you were just alluding to about a certain Leeds United player, I've gone with my final selection to be Crescencio Somerville to score any time. And look, I've backed Crescencio in our last few bet builders involving Leeds, and we haven't had much luck. But that surely means he's due one, because he's too good a player to be playing as below par as he has been recently. He's been the main man on so many occasions this season for Leeds. He's the winner of the second-tier Player of the Season award for a reason. And the chances are, if Leeds are going to score, he's going to come through for them. And based off our selection so far, we fancy them to score a couple of goals at most, don't we? So I think it's a safe bet that Crescencio Somerville scores at least one of them, if that is to be the case. So, yes, Crescencio Somerville to score is our final pick for our bet builder. I will just rattle through them again, Justin. Leeds to keep a clean sheet is our first pick. Leeds to win as the full-time result. Leeds to score under 2.5 goals. And Crescencio Somerville to score any time. And a £10 stake on that returns £110. With SBK, because they are an absolutely top-class bookie, you can claim a 25% winnings boost on bet builders for Leeds versus Norwich, bringing us up to £138. Max stake of £10 over 18s only, and T's and C's apply. Please gamble responsibly. Justin, before we have a quick break and get on to the Southampton v West Brom game, you may have seen the news that Huddersfield have appointed Michael Duff as their new head coach. He signed a 3-year contract after the departure of Andre Brighton-Writer. Obviously, Huddersfield will be in League One next season, but is Duff the best man to help them bounce back at the first time of asking? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely is. I think Huddersfield do need to improve in the wing-back area, without a shadow of a doubt, because I don't think Duff Ball is very much a wing-back heavy expectation, and he needs good players in those positions. I think Huddersfield do generally anyway. I don't think Sorba Thomas will stay. I've seen a link with other clubs, so I think he will depart. But that should give him some funds to go out and get some quality in those wide areas. But I think Michael Duff, Swansea spell aside, I like him as a coach. I think he's an incredibly talented coach. I think he gets a lot out of the teams. It's a very fitness-heavy, aggressive style of play, and I think he needs that. He needs that. He needs a team who's willing to get behind him. So. There's no style of play issue here as it was with Swansea, so there's going to be that pressure that's not going to be there. So I do think he gives Huddersfield a really good opportunity to get back up into the Championship.
Well, there were reports that Duff had been interviewed about the job before they opted to go with Brighton-Writer, and well, they clearly made the wrong choice and should have got him back in February. But I think he's the right man. He's a really good manager and shouldn't be judged too much on his Swansea spell, in my view, because he was just the right man for the wrong job. So I'm happy he's got the chance to get Huddersfield back in the Championship. It's going to be difficult because, as we've alluded to several times, this squad isn't great and is almost certainly going to get weaker before it gets better with the small amounts of quality they actually have in this team inevitably moving on in the summer. But I like Duff, and I think he can reunite the club because it's become a bit fractured after this poor season. But he's a likeable guy, as long as you don't ask Swansea fans about that. I think he's definitely the right man to lead this charge, and hopefully it leads to a summer where they go on a bit of a recruitment drive, because they certainly need to. Justin, let's take a quick break. After that, we'll talk about Southampton v West Brom. Welcome back to the Second Tier podcast. Just before we get on to Southampton v West Brom, Justin, we've had a bit of correspondence from our listeners regarding the most expensive purchases they've had to justify. This comes after you revealed you were planning to spend £800 on what?
A coffee machine, a coffee dispenser to satisfy my addiction.
Yes. £800, bloody hell. Well, this first email is from Scott. He says, "Hi Virgins, I spent £600 on my coffee machine a few months ago. Best investment I ever made." Justin, anyone that questions your purchase, especially Ryan, is probably a hot Vimto drinker, uneducated heathen. So sounds like you got a bit of support from Scott at least, Justin.
Yeah, I might liaise with Scott a little bit and talk about coffee, because that's what cool people do. Whereas you drink hot chocolates, right? Like a 12-year-old.
I don't do hot drinks at all, apart from hot chocolates.
Yeah. There you go. You have the palate of a 9-year-old, and that's what I'm going to say.
I'm absolutely fine
grow
with
up,
that.
Ryan. Grow up.
I think coffee is absolutely grim. But look, Scott, his only cost £600. Why don't you spend £600 instead of £800?
Because I want something with a few more bells and whistles. I want something to measure my coffee beans out and give me specific measurements. I want it to brew for a specific amount of time. I don't need to justify my actions to you, like Scott said, Ryan. This is my money, my purchase, and I'm going to be happy with it.
I just don't want you living in a box when you're having to record the podcast. That's all it is. This next one is from Judd. He says, "Hi guys, earlier this year I bought an 85-inch TV.
Jesus
My
Christ.
justification was it'll be great for watching football on. And I assume he was justifying it to his partner. 85 inches.
That's
That's
big.
gigantic.
Mine's, is it shit you not? Mine's 50 inches and I think it's too big. I don't like it. And
Well,
85. 85.
Well, I'm assuming that would mean it's more than 50% bigger than your TV, Justin.
Yeah, it is. It's incredible. I'm just trying to sort of... That's going to take up an entire wall of a lounge.
So dimensions-wise, I had a quick search. It's just over 6 feet wide and about 3.5 feet tall. So, yeah, it's bloody big. It's like you lying down on your wall.
Yeah, but I'm not 3 foot in width, by the way. I'd be a big guy. No, that's bonkers. That is 85 is excessive. I mean, are they watching enough football to justify it? Are they watching films on it? Like, can you imagine watching? How pointless would it be to watch EastEnders on an 85-inch TV?
Yeah,
no one needs an 85-inch TV.
Yeah, if you're watching, I don't know, the playoffs, for example, then
Absolutely.
you are the place. You have got the house to be watching them at. But if you are just watching, I don't know, Coronation Street, then it's maybe not maybe it's not worth the money that you paid for it, Judd. But thank you for getting in touch. This final one is from Max, who says, "Hi, Virgins. I bought the latest Boca Juniors shirts for my five-a-side team that includes 4 outfielders plus 2 subs. Each shirt was £80, so it came to £480. My justification to my girlfriend was that I wanted us to look smart." You know what? I respect it, Max.
Financially, that's a terrible thing to commit to. But yeah, Boca shirts are sexy, and if you turn up to a 5-side game wearing Boca shirts and you're all in the same one, you're in trouble. The opposition's in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, you're striking fear into any opposition who comes up, aren't you?
Unless you're terrible.
And you do also look smart. So you know what? Round of applause to you, Max. You've gained my respect, dear boy. If you want to get in touch with your big purchase that you've had to justify, please do. secondtierpod@gmail.com. Alternatively, just DM us on Twitter or X, or get in touch with anything that you want. And you've got an ear from us too. Justin, let's go to the other semi-final in the playoffs, and that is on Friday night. It's Southampton v West Brom at St Mary's. Southampton are 4-5 to win this one in normal time with SBK. West Brom to win is 19-5. If you think it's going to extra time, the draw is 13-5. So Southampton, very much the odds-on favourites in this game. And of course, this tie ended goalless in the first leg, but it was a pretty good 0-0, to be fair, wasn't it? Certainly compared to the other game, anyway.
But yeah, I mean, the other game did set a really low bar. So I think any game with any attacking intent was going to eclipse the Norwich Leeds one. Sorry, but this was a good game, and as I say, I think both teams did have a go at various points, just didn't have enough quality. And I think as far as 0-0s go, if it had finished 2-2, it'd have been a fair result. Draw was a fair result, and it just tees the game up at St Mary's very, very nicely. So it's going to be a good one. And I think this is the harder one to call out of the two. It really is.
I would agree with that, Justin. I think you're absolutely spot on there. I think if there's one thing that Russell Martin would want to change from this game, is that Alex McCarthy isn't as busy in the Southampton goal. That would be the main thing, I think. But look, Carlos Corberán credited West Brom supporters with creating an atmosphere which prevented them from losing that first leg. And now Southampton have asked their supporters to arrive early for this game and create a sea of red and white for the players as they get to the ground on the team coach. Is everyone doing this now, Justin? Everyone seems to be doing this now before every big game, pyro, flares, all sorts, and flags before, any big game. It seems to be, just everything that is happening now. Yeah,
trying to think of ways that we could maybe sort of diversify it a little bit and make it a bit more interesting. Nothing that doesn't involve, I don't know, throwing coins, which I would never condone. Trying to strike fear into the opposition. But there are probably ways that you can do that without being violent. Maybe like, I don't know, throwing baked goods at a team bus. Getting pepper.
No, don't encourage people to throw stuff, you idiot.
Why would you do that? Yeah, don't do that. Why would you do that?
Maybe some sort of tifo of like a boiler face down or something
my God.
like that would intimidate the West Brom team.
Just send Boilerman out, chase run head first. Boilerman run head first at the opposition team coach.
Yeah,
and then,
okay.
I mean, I know it's not really going to impact Southampton because they don't have a boiler mascot, but Boilerman could have done some damage in that first leg, and they didn't really utilise him.
He is away from home though, Justin. So you've got to keep that in mind. He will ram his head first into the Southampton team coach, and then probably get mauled by the Southampton fans. But then that'll be quite an intimidating sight for the West Brom team.
No, because you can't beat up a boiler. I'm sorry, you just can't. It's a boiler.
Could unplug it.
Boilerman, it doesn't need unplugging.
Caught you out then, didn't it? Well, Justin, we've already seen a few mind games ahead of this one. You'll be interested to know. West Brom defender Connor Townsend said that they don't mind being the underdogs for this game, and he went on to say that all the pressure is on Southampton. Mind games. Is he right, Justin?
Yeah, he was 100% right. A lot of the pressure is on Southampton. I think if West Brom still had the ownership issues, then there'd be a lot more pressure on West Brom because it's literally the future of the club in the balance if they don't go up.
Yeah.
But they don't, that's sorted now, and it is all on Southampton because not only did they... could you argue that Southampton blew their automatic opportunity because it was in their hands at one point, wasn't it?
No, I don't think so. I think because it was just so tight at the top. I get what you're saying, that at one point they were, it looked like they would get automatic promotion. I think saying they've blown it would be a bit harsh. But I get your point, Justin, because I think you are absolutely right. We were alluding to it in Friday's preview show, weren't we? If Southampton don't go up, they'll lose their loan players, many of whom have been their best players this season. They'll probably lose a couple of their most talented players as well, like Kyle Walker-Peters, for example. And that's not an ideal position to be in, is it at all? So that's why it's such a big game for Southampton. That's why they need to get promoted. And financially as well, it will be a big blow to them if they don't go up as well, because they've spent a fair bit of money over the past 12 months. And how many sellable assets have they got in this team? Not that many. So that's why it is such a big game for Southampton, and West Brom are very much the underdogs, as we've seen with the odds from SBK at the start of the show. And speaking of, what's at stake for Southampton, the pressure is apparently on Russell Martin, because the Daily Mail say he will likely pay with his job if Southampton fail to get promoted. What do you make of that, Justin?
I think that's more than fair. I really do.
Do you think?
Yeah, I do. It's probably harsh, to be honest with you. But at any point in this season, I mean, I know they went how many games unbeaten? Was it 23 or something? Very, very long unbeaten spell between sort of September to January, February, where they looked good. They were still drawing probably too many games, but at the same time, they were a side who still looked vulnerable. Russell Martin still hasn't got the hang of creating an attacking team, but creating it balanced defensively. If you look at Leeds, I know it's a really bad example because of how much Leeds tailed off towards the end of the season, but Leeds had that balance. Leicester have had that balance. Southampton have never had that balance. So this Saints side, even if they go up, I'd be worried with Russell Martin in charge because he's never learned a lesson. He's never he's never righted the wrongs of his tactical imbalance, which is that team being far too easy to play against sometimes and cut through at times. So I do think if he does fail to at least get to the playoff final, I'd be surprised if he's still at Southampton come the end of May, because a lot of money, good squad, should have been. Well, it's quite crazy to say it, but they should have been a lot closer to the top two than what they were.
I'm not too sure, Justin. We have got to keep in mind here for any neutrals who don't follow or have only followed the show in recent months, that you are a big Russell Martin skeptic, aren't you?
I am, and it's down to the repeat problems that he's had at Swansea and MK Dons. They followed him to Southampton, and we've always thought if he had a better group of players, he will fix it. And it's just the same problems, different players. That's literally what it is. I know I'm quite vague, but they go for long spells of being quite poor. They go for long spells of being very open, very easy to cut through, and sometimes there's a stubbornness to persist with playing out from the back despite making mistakes. That Leicester 5-0 defeat, for example, is a very good example of it. So a lot of naivety of Russell Martin that he's never ever learnt from, and he's really aggy. He's really angry after post-match. When they get battered,
that really winds you up, doesn't it? It really winds you up. You mention it all the time.
It doesn't feel like he takes accountability. He just deflects things with his frustration. It's like, dude, just take it on the chin. You were shit. Just take it and go from there. You don't be Mardy.
I think you're being very harsh, and I think it would also be very harsh to sack him if they don't go up. I get that Southampton have spent a fair bit of money on transfer fees, wages, and what have you this season, but they got 87 points, and that's been enough to get you automatically promoted in many seasons. There's not a whole lot more you can do when second place gets the 8th biggest points tally in Championship history. They've just been outpaced by two teams who are much stronger than them in terms of their squad, and another one who's managed by a coach who's pulled off the greatest achievement in Championship history as far as I'm concerned. It's also not ideal when your marquee signing of the summer instantly gets injured and is ruled out for the season. So I don't think he should be sacked. Okay. If Southampton were to miss out on promotion, they would have much more success in sticking with the manager. I don't really see the point in I don't see what you would particularly achieve by sacking him and getting someone else in. Sticking with him is even more important when it's someone like Russell Martin who plays in such a defined way, because if you stick with it, Martin Ball will work better next season. It's one of those things where it takes time to get those things going. Look, Justin, you're umming and ahhing, but Swansea were better in their second season.
Marginally. They still went sort of 16, 17 games without a win.
Well, if Southampton are marginally better, they'll get automatically promoted.
They probably will, but he might not get that chance. And I had the thought pop into my head. If Southampton, with the squad that they have the quality of coach that Ipswich, Leicester and Leeds have had, would they have finished higher up than when they were? Because they've got a great points totals, but it's not about the points total, it's the ability to compete with the teams that are competing with you for your objectives, which is promotion, and he failed to do that. So if they had a Maresca, a McKenna or Farker even, would the Saints side have gone up?
Well, you say that, but would you say that Leicester and Leeds have better squads than Southampton? I would say they've got much better squads.
I would say they have better squads in places. I wouldn't wholly say their squads are outright better, but they certainly have better quality in certain areas. But that being said, I think it depends on the quality of manager you've got. Not necessarily the squad. Neil Warnock took that Cardiff side up 6 years ago. 6 years ago, should never have got them up. Not good enough squad at all. It's all about the manager.
I mean, he did only finish 3 points behind Leeds. So, considering, I think Leeds have a much better squad than Southampton, for me personally, I think you are being harsh. But look, this isn't the Russell Martin preview show. Is Russell Martin going to get sacked preview show? It's the playoff preview show. But let's look ahead to that game on Friday, Justin. And I've got to say, I fancy West Brom to do Southampton. Now, that was how I was feeling in last Friday's preview show, and I still feel it now. Even though West Brom couldn't make the most of home advantage in the first leg, even though West Brom are the outsiders to win the whole playoffs according to the bookies, I just think recent history has shown if you're defensively solid and well organised, that goes a long way in the playoffs. Particularly when you've got a master tactician like Carlos Corberán, who has experience of grinding out games like this. And West Brom were the better side in the first leg too. I took a lot of encouragement from that game. I reckon West Brom will take encouragement from it too, because of course Southampton are very capable of sweeping West Brom aside. When they're good, they're very good. They're favourites for a reason. But I've got a feeling with Carlos Corberán's boys. I can see it being an almost carbon copy of last season's playoff semis with Coventry and Middlesbrough, where first game at Coventry ended 0-0, wasn't a very exciting game. Then the second leg, Coventry just soak up all the pressure, hit Middlesbrough on one break, and that ends up being the deciding factor. I can see that happening again here, Justin. What do you think?
Yeah, the sides mirror each other as well with Southampton and Borough. Very talented attacking teams, but defensively a little bit vulnerable, and they rely very much on those passing lanes into those forward areas. Now, if West Brom can cut those passing lanes out, there's no way they're going to get enough supply, Southampton, and it's going to stifle them. And Russell Martin, as I've alluded to, tactically, I don't think he's clever enough to get around it. Is that plan B? Doesn't exist with Southampton. I'm not saying lump it into the box sort of plan B. I'm just saying if there's passing lanes, get Ross Stewart on it and get the ball in box. And I just don't think Russell Martin's capable of finding a way around those scenarios yet. Might be the case here. Might surprise me, but history tells me that Russell Martin can't do it, and therefore West Brom. Those aspects, those scepticism of Russell Martin. I just think West Brom. It all leads to West Brom scoring with their first shot on target in the 85th minute and winning 1-0.
Yeah, it would not surprise me at all. But Justin, it's now time for us to put our necks on the line with the second tier bet builder with SBK. And a cheeky reminder that with SBK, you can curate your own bet builder from a range of markets for any championship game. It's easy, fast and secure on the SBK mobile app. And you'll find substantially better odds there than any other bookmaker. So, same as before, Justin's going to pick two selections. I'm going to pick two selections. What is your first selection, Peachy?
I've gone with the half-time result to be a draw. I think it'll be a cagey game in the first half. We did see an openness in that first leg, weirdly. Quite a bit of openness in the first half of that first leg. And I would suspect Corberán will be expecting a Southampton onslaught to come up in the first half and therefore shore his side up ready for that onslaught, especially if there's a sea of red and white geeing up the home team as it rolls in on the coach. The only thing that's going to stop that is Boyleman running headfirst like a Spartan at that coach to try and stifle them. Likelihood of that happening is very zero, or close to zero, I imagine. So I think going to rely on the football for this one, and I think Corberán will keep it tight.
Yeah, close to zero, but not zero.
Not zero.
I think half-time result is a good pick. It's going to be tight. I can see this one being a lot less open than the first leg was. So I think West Brom will be looking to just sit back, soak up all the pressure in the first half in particular, and then see if they can try and expose Southampton a bit more in the second half. Alternatively, it could be 1-1 as well. That will work for us too. My first selection is Southampton to have the most corners. Now, I came out with a stat in last Friday's preview show that Southampton have had more corners than their opponents in 13 of their last 15 games. The first leg made it 14 out of 16, so it's a good little find for me. Plus, with Southampton having home advantage, it's easy to foresee them piling on the pressure, forcing West Brom to give away plenty of corners. So I think Southampton to have the most corners is a good pick, Justin.
You say it's a good find for you. I actually picked this one out because I did some research finally for these, jokes aside. And I found this before you came at me. You said, that's mine. I want that one. And
because I said it on Friday's preview show.
Yeah, it doesn't mean I can't pick it for the next one.
So what you've done is you've taken my stat and then just taken it and fraudulently claimed it as your own.
It's not fraud if it's correct, is it? But I essentially agree with you. But I'm just saying it's not your find, This data exists.
I found it before you.
But I said it before you for this game, so therefore I picked it. But you can have it, and I agree with you.
Thank you. What's your next selection?
I've gone with under 3.5 goals. For both teams, it's difficult to see goals in this game. I just think West Brom are going to make it very difficult for Southampton, and we're going to see a disgruntled Russell Martin on the sideline. That little grimace he does, almost like his lips curling a little bit, an angry Russell Martin because his side are not breaking West Brom down. But as I say, not only was the first fixture 0-0, both sides lacked the required quality in that final third. I think if we had a fit Ross Stewart and a fit Daryl Dike, both very unlikely for this game, obviously, because Daryl Dike is injured, Ross Stewart's only just coming back. I think it would be a completely different tie, completely different contest. But I don't think either side has a convincing physical number 9. Therefore, an abundance of goals for me is unlikely.
Yeah, most people would go under 2.5 goals in a bet builder, but I think under 3.5 just gives you that bit more insurance for, say, a 2-1, for example. And my final selection, West Brom to win as the full-time result. Now, we were alluding to it earlier. Really fancy West Brom here. You can get some really juicy odds with SBK for them to win as well. But for all the reasons suggested earlier, I fancy West Brom to be taking up one half of Wembley in a week and a half's time. I've just got a feeling, Justin. Sometimes when you have that feeling, you've just got to follow it.
It's in your loins. It's in your bloody loins, isn't it?
It bloody is. I can tell you right now. West Brom win is right in my bloody loins. Justin, this is our bet builder. Half-time result to be a draw. Southampton to have the most corners. Under 3.5 goals for both teams. West Brom to win as the full-time result. And a £10 stake on that bet builder returns £145. But a quick reminder that SBK are a top-class bookie. So our 25% winnings boost is here for bet builders on Southampton v West Brom as well. That brings us up to £181. Max stake of £10 over 18s only, and T's and C's apply. Please gamble responsibly. Now it's time for this.
Scott High or Ryan Lowe?
Neil Best is fucking shit, mate.
Yes, it is indeed time for Scott High or Ryan Lowe. And this is the game where we have to rank 4 things from highest to lowest. It's as simple as that. There's 3 questions, and this week, Justin is providing the questions to me. So what have you got for me, Justin Peach, you bastard?
I've got a good one. I've got a playoff one to kick us off with because it's the bloody playoffs. So the first one is I want you to rank these clubs on who's finished in the playoffs the most. Watford, Preston, Stoke and Ipswich.
All right then. Okay, so Watford have had at least 2 goes.
Just before you come at me.
Okay.
This stretches back into the 90s because the numbers did not.
Christ.
The numbers did not. It just didn't allow me to make a decision.
You mean you couldn't be asked to just?
No, I could be asked.
Well, here we are. Could you remind me of the teams again? Because that completely changes everything.
Watford, Preston, Stoke, and Ipswich.
Well, I believe Ipswich have had a fair few, so I will go with them top then. Then Watford. Preston have had quite a few in the Championship era, so I'll go with them. I can't recall Stoke ever being in the playoffs in the Championship era, and my knowledge pre-2004 isn't great, but on the basis that I don't really know, I'll put them bottom. So Ipswich, Watford, Preston, Stoke.
Yeah, nothing to worry about, Ryan, because you've nailed that. Well done.
Oh, look at that, ladies and gentlemen.
There we go. First division expert as well over here. Ipswich finished. Well, sorry, not finished. They finished in the playoffs. Well, actually finished 8 times. Then it's Watford with 5, Preston with 4, and Stoke with 1.
1. Yeah, I was going to say.
So,
I don't remember many times they've done it.
It's literally Stoke next season, if they have any aspirations to play in the Premier League, have got to do it automatically because they do not finish in the playoffs.
And that's not going to happen, is it? Justin, what's the next question?
Oh, yes. Well, incredibly, all of the teams that are currently in the playoffs boast very good academies. So I want you to rank for me which of these sides have had players feature from the academy the most. Leeds, Norwich, West Brom and Southampton.
What do you mean?
So all of these teams have had players that have come through their academies playing the first team this season.
This season, right, okay.
Yeah.
That's quite a big thing that you missed out there.
Yeah, probably is.
Fine. Well, Southampton obviously have a very famous and illustrious academy. Just going through their team, though, I can't think of many players who have featured in their first team this season. Leeds, obviously, got Archie Gray. I guess Sambai technically counts. So I'm tempted to put Leeds top, although Norwich have got a fair few, haven't they? Johnny Rowe. Sam McCallum, was he Norwich's academy? I will go with Norwich top, then Leeds. Who West Brom got from their academy in that first team? Tom Fellows? I can't recall anyone from Southampton who's from the academy in their team. I might be completely wrong. So I'm just thinking now, is Jack Stevens, Southampton academy? I don't really know his career very well. Now I'm doubting myself. Oh, God. Well, Smallbone as well. Oh, no, it's all coming back to me now.
There we go.
Fine, I'll go Southampton, then West Brom.
So what you've gone with, go from the top again.
Leeds. No, Norwich, Leeds.
Norwich, Leeds.
Southampton, West Brom.
Just, yeah, well done.
I nailed it.
No, you didn't. It was terrible.
Oh.
I just wanted to pull you in. Leeds have had 7. Leeds are top with 7 players Now, these are just minutes, by the way. So Leeds are top with
yeah.
just 7 players. Then it's Norwich.
I think I may be forgetting. Wait, so it's based on minutes?
Just players who have featured. Yeah.
Wait, so minutes is quite a big thing to miss out. Is it
grief.
number of players who have featured or minutes?
It's number of players. But
Fine, okay. That's completely different then.
But these players play minutes. That's my point.
Okay.
So it's Leeds top with 7. Then it's Norwich with 4. Then it's West Brom with 3. Then it's Southampton. Sorry, West Brom with 4 as well. And it's Southampton with 3.
3. Okay. Yeah, Leeds, I was thinking about Archie Gray, Sam Byram. I also forgot, it's just occurred to me now, like the likes of Joe Gellard. Although he wasn't Leeds' academy, was he? Charlie
No,
Cresswell was. So those kind of players. So yeah, that does make sense. Oh well, I'm happy with I guess I wasn't too far off. Justin, what is your final question for me?
You're a big virgin, as the listeners know very, very well.
Yes.
So I want you to tell me. In fact, this comes back off the back of you telling me your big purchase. You bought a Black Panther Lego set, didn't you? And you've been playing with that for a while.
Yes,
yeah, you've been playing.
I've started. I've nearly finished the head, but it also has the arms as well. You know, the Wakanda Forever,
Incredible.
like gesture. Don't ask me how much it was. It's outrageous.
Yeah. So I mean, we should know because you laid into me for my coffee machine. So how much was your Black Panther purchase?
It was £250.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Lego is so expensive, it's unbelievable.
So is coffee. Anyway, I want you to rank for me the original Marvel releases. So Thor, Iron Man, Captain America, and the Incredible Hulk, which is an original release, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to rank for me their IMDb. I want you to rank by their IMDb scores. Got out in the end.
Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, Thor.
Correct.
Iron Man will be top. 100%. No doubt about that at all. Then I would say Captain America second. Then it's between Thor and Hulk because both those movies weren't great. I don't know. I'll go Hulk then Thor, I think.
So you've gone with Iron Man,
Captain America, Hulk, Thor.
Oh, it's wrong.
Did I get the last two mixed up?
No, actually, it goes Iron Man.
Oh.
So you got Iron Man correct. Iron Man is
Yeah.
actually quite a good film, and it's
Yeah, it's
Thor.
right.
So Iron Man got 7.9 on IMDb, and Thor got 7.
It's just no, I don't agree with that.
We don't have to. Sort of, it's a game of opinions with movie ratings. And it's Captain America with 6.9. Yeah, these aren't great films. It's Incredible Hulk with 6.6, which is last.
I actually like the first Captain America film.
No, not for me.
No, I thought it was really good. It was definitely better than Thor. The first Thor film is just dull. Plus, I'm not a big fan of Natalie Portman as an actor.
But it's a bombshell. That's taking me aback, actually. Why?
She was really good in what's the Swan film? Black Swan.
Black Swan.
Really good in that, but I've seen her in so many other things, and I just find her quite annoying.
You've not watched her in Star Wars, have you? That's what it is.
No.
There we go.
Because
there's your problem.
I might be a virgin, but I'm not that big a virgin. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's been Scott High, Ryan Low, and this has been the Second Tier Podcast. We'll be back with you very soon, ladies and gentlemen, because instead of doing one episode to, round up everything that's happened in the playoff semi-finals, we'll be giving you fresh reaction, hot out of the oven, to each of the semi-finals. So what we'll be doing is we'll be doing a reaction episode straight after the Leeds v Norwich game on Thursday night, and then doing another reaction episode straight off the back of Southampton v West Brom. So you won't have to wait long before you get some reaction from your dear pals at the Second Tier Podcast. But this has been the Second Tier Podcast, and this has been the preview show brought to you by SBK. We look forward to seeing you again very soon. I've been Ryan Dilks.
I've been Justin Peach.
And a big thank you for listening. Oh, God.